Diddy has officially been sentenced to 50 months in prison. And the thing that Diddy did as soon as he was sentenced is actually insane. And even more worse, since he has already served 14 months, Diddy only has to spend the next 36 months in a federal prison. And while the prosecution recommended 11 years, as they said that Diddy had a lack of remorse, as well as all of the evidence that was stacked against Diddy, as Diddy was initially on the hook for about 20 years in prison. And even more insane are these past few court days, Diddy has been begging and pleading and apologizing nonstop, where his team is making sympathetic videos of him and his kids hanging out. And right before the judge made their sentencing to Diddy, Diddy's daughters begged the judge for Diddy to get a second chance. And this is where it gets even more patheticer for Diddy. Right before Diddy was sentenced, he claimed that he had a speaking engagement in Miami next week, as to make it seem like he knew that he was not going to get sentenced.
The judge looked Diddy right in the face right before handing him a 4-year sentence and said, "You will forever be associated with Cassie and Jane. You can't wash them away." This after his attorney spent hours defending.
Girl, y'all need to grab a seat for this one because this tea is scorching hot. So apparently Katt's out here claiming that Diddy's so-called 50-month sentence. Yeah, that little slap on the wrist that had the whole internet losing its mind wasn't just light, it was planned. According to inside sources, Katt is alleging that Diddy was never gonna see the inside of a cell for too long. Why? Because apparently the same powerful folks he's rumored to have on those infamous tapes wanted them back, and that sentencing was more like a warning shot, basically a way to keep him quiet and in check. And get this, Katt's even alleging that some serious money might have exchanged hands behind the scenes to make sure Diddy got off easy. So buckle up, y'all, because if what Katt's saying is true, this might be one of the biggest Hollywood cover-ups in years. Let's break it down. In case y'all missed it, here's the quick rundown. Months after all that courtroom chaos, Diddy was found guilty of transportation for prostitution, but not guilty of that big RICO charge everyone was talking about. His sentencing date was locked in for October 3rd, but baby, that's not even the juiciest part. Now, y'all remember how Cassie stepped up and wrote to the judge, trying to block his bail, saying she feared for her life and the safety of other witnesses? Well, sis wasn't done there. Just days before the sentencing, Cassie hit the court with another letter, this time begging for a longer jail term for Diddy, saying she's still scared for her safety and has been keeping a super low profile ever since the whole Combs trial went down. She wrote, "I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular, everyday basis and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past," Ventura Fine wrote, according to court documents obtained by USA Today. "My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family are my reality. I'm so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution toward me and others who spoke up about his abuse at trial," Ventura Fine continued. "As much progress as I have made in recovering from his abuse, I remain very much afraid of what he is capable of and the malice he undoubtedly harbors toward me for having the bravery to tell the truth." Now, Cassie wasn't the only one begging the judge to throw the whole book at Diddy. 50 Cent also jumped in, and y'all know he's been trolling Diddy for years. But this time, it wasn't just jokes. Turns out, Fifth actually had a personal connection to the case because his baby mama and ex, Daphne Joy, was revealed to be the Jane Doe in that Diddy sex trafficking mess. So yeah, 50 had every reason to be heated. He even wrote to the judge himself, saying straight up that he feared for his life and wanted Diddy to get a much tougher sentence. He wrote, "I have had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. Multiple times, I have feared for my life. You should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments." Now, y'all, when the final verdict dropped, the internet lost its mind. Diddy was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison after being found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And on top of that, he's got to cough up a $500,000 fine. But here's where it gets wild. Fans were expecting a way longer sentence, like 11 years minimum, and instead, he walked away with just over 4. And get this, the 13 months he already spent behind bars, that's counting towards his time. So basically, Diddy's doing even less than 4 years. Girl, it's giving slap on the wrist energy for real, and the internet is not having it. However, Diddy's legal team was not here for that verdict, y'all. Right after the sentencing, they stepped out of the courtroom and wasted no time talking to the press. In an interview right outside the courthouse, they made it clear they're planning to appeal what they called an unjust judgment from the jury.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal. The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion, and I think the judge said coercion today as a basis for a sentence at least a dozen times. We think that that is unconstitutional. We think that a jury verdict should mean more than our jury's verdict seems to mean, and so we are planning to appeal. We think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no sex trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the prostitution offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose.
So yeah, this drama is far from over. While Diddy's legal team was busy talking about appealing the verdict, the public had a lot to say about that 50-month sentence, and the reactions were all over the place. Some people thought justice was finally being served, while others felt the judgment was too light. One of the loudest voices was Gene Deal, who came out saying he already knew Diddy wasn't going to be sitting behind bars for long.
It is exactly what I said on my show. I said, Diddy gonna end up doing 24 months in prison. The judge gave him 50 months, but you gotta realize he already had 14 months in it, practically, and he's going to get credit for 2 months of that 14 months. That give him 16 months. He's gonna do 24 months, which is gonna give him about 30 months, because he only had to do 85% in the feds, and he goes to probably a halfway house. So he got off like a fat rat in a cheese factory. But for a dude like Diddy going to jail and spending all that time, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be rough or nothing like that, because his...
Then there was Judge Mathis, who admitted he was straight up shocked that Diddy didn't get a much longer sentence.
So you were right. Were you surprised at the 50 months?
Well, I was surprised it wasn't more, quite frankly. Based on the prosecutors wanted 11 years. The judge, as we know, said he would be considering things outside of the conviction. And so and wouldn't give him $1 million bond, or I think later he offered $50 million, and you wouldn't give him a bond. So no, I thought he was gonna bring the hammer down a little harder.
But girl, it didn't take long before Katt Williams jumped right into the whole Diddy conversation. And let's be real, everyone was waiting for it. After that explosive Club Shay Shay interview, where Katt basically shredded Diddy's reputation to pieces, folks were sitting tight, waiting to hear what he had to say about the sentencing. Because if there's one thing we know, Katt's been rooting for Diddy to face real consequences, just like the rest of the internet. According to inside sources, Katt was disappointed that Diddy only got 4 years, though he wasn't exactly surprised. He'd been calling it from the jump. The source claims Katt told people that Diddy's whole house raid and trial were really just a way for his powerful friends to punish him for holding on to those alleged incriminating tapes of them. And once those tapes were seized, Katt said he knew Diddy was gonna get off easy. Katt also allegedly claimed that a lot of money changed hands during the trial because, let's be honest, with the amount of evidence the prosecution had, there was no way Diddy should have beaten those RICO charges. So once he did, Katt said he knew the prostitution charges would be a walk in the park. And here's where it gets even messier. Katt believes Diddy might still walk away free after the appeal. He thinks the whole thing was planned from the start, and that if the judges had found Diddy not guilty right away, it would have looked too suspicious. So they gave him a little sentence first, just to make it look real. According to Katt, once the appeal hits, Diddy might just walk home free, and that, he says, would make a total mockery of the justice system. Because in Katt's words, everybody who's been following this case knows Diddy did it. To be honest, y'all, this whole situation is straight up wild. Like, let's call it what it is. The evidence, the witnesses, the stories, everything points to Diddy being guilty of some seriously dark stuff. Seeing him get just 4 years for over 2 decades of allegedly doing horrible things to people, yeah, that's insane. And don't get me wrong, most people agree that he is finally getting sentenced is a step in the right direction. But 4 years? That doesn't even scratch the surface compared to the damage he's done. So when folks ask if this counts as justice being served, let's be real. The answer is a big, fat no. Katt Williams, exposing how Diddy escaped an 11-year jail term, had fans talking, and they left comments saying, justice system is an absolute joke. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly buys the justice system. I don't care. Diddy getting just 4 years in prison ain't enough for me. He spent 20 plus years terrorizing people. He deserved way more time than that. 50 months seems like a light sentence considering the severity of the charges and the impact on the victim. While I understand the legal arguments for leniency, the maximum 11 years would have been more appropriate to send a clear message about accountability, especially for someone with Diddy's influence. So what do y'all think? Some serious money moved behind the scenes to help Diddy snag that reduced sentence? Or do you really believe the judges played it fair this time? Drop your thoughts down in the comments and don't forget to check out the next video.